almost like a two-way movement in some of this stuff, isn't there? When you've got the big consultancies getting close to what the MSPs do, and likewise, I think the comment you made earlier about services procurement being a big nut to crack, it's a multifaceted nut, and it is very large, massive spend, very complicated, and I think in some cases the barrier for organizations is where the bar is too high, in the sense that if a program, and this is where just kind of interested to get your take on where there are any potentially missed opportunities, because I feel like there are potentially missed opportunities for MSPs where you're not dealing with a billion-dollar program, but you might be dealing with a significant program opportunity, but the organization isn't ready to just kind of like eat the whole whale at once. And it feels like sometimes there's a bit of a barrier to entry for organizations, where it's like, if you're going to do it, the complexity in doing it and the cost in doing it is going to be so high that you're going to have to get massive buy-in, and it's going to have to cover, a massive proportion of your spend for it to be a viable thing to do. Is that ever frustrating? Do you agree with that, firstly?
I agree with it totally. I think, excuse me, I think the whole, trust me, like come in with a nice glossy and here it is and all the numbers look great, trust me on this thing, it only goes so far. At the end of the day, the proof's in the pudding. And this is where some of the organization and some of the VMS suppliers, and you're one of them, I think have really identified this gap. And so what you're able to do is this, it's kind of almost a try before you buy type approach kind of thing. You're able to see what the value is, be able to get in, use the tool early. I know, like, I've pitched this a number of times, and it gets a lot of interest from high end all the way down to small organizations, is around how do we prove it? How do we demonstrate that what we say is what it's going to be? And you need to, MSPs, I feel, need to really step up in this space and kind of like prove it somehow. And I think there's huge opportunity to be able to kind of like demonstrate that sort of thing, being able to, like, let's put a handful of transactions or one transaction through. So the barrier to entry, we have to figure out how to really drop that. So that way we can kind of set something up, push it through the system. They're able to see how it kind of works, push a couple through. They can get like 5, 6 transactions through the system. They're able to see how the process works. What is going to be the saving for them on just an efficiency gain, and then be able to then build upon that, and say, okay, once we have this, you have confidence we can do that. Well, then let's take the next step. And I think the progression is really like we show our operational capabilities, then we start helping you with the sourcing, and we start building into that strategic side. So then eventually we end up having the more meaningful conversations, as we talked about earlier. But I really think that's the gap. Like, that is the way to get in. That's the way to really help to show that it's not just pretty words and everything else. Like, there's real meat behind what we're actually selling. There is real value in it. So I think that's, it wouldn't surprise me if you see a lot of organizations kind of shifting to this model in the next probably 12 months. 18 months across the board. It becomes quite standard, where you get to try a little bit and see how it kind of works.